NBC had had in over 2 years. It had a 40 share, which equated to 80 million viewers per episode. And those are big numbers. Those are like series finale numbers. The show was so popular here in the United States that it went international. It premiered in the UK on July 30th, 1984, in Argentina in January 14th of 1985, then it went to France in September of 1985. The show became a phenomenon. And not just because the sci-fi theme resonated with fans. In South Africa, where an apartheid government was still running things, the red V from the miniseries was spray painted all over the place the day after the show aired there.
Tonight is your chance to see how it all began, to relive the excitement of the most extraordinary miniseries ever. A daring TV journalist struggling to uncover the startling truth behind the aliens' visit to Earth, and a beautiful and brave young scientist fighting for the very survival of the human race. Together they take you on a fantastic journey to meet the visitors. Prepare yourself for a television event that's out of this world. Prepare for the next.
NBC immediately wanted to order up a series based on the show, but Warner Brothers, who had worked on the miniseries, couldn't find a way to do something decent for the amount of money, so a year later, a new miniseries, The Final Battle, would premiere. This would eventually lead to the weekly series. Now, I know I mentioned the influences of other works on V, but here is the actual plot for the show. V begins like any other science fiction space invasion movie, with a huge fleet of saucer-shaped ships arriving at key cities around the world. When the aliens do finally reveal themselves, it is in the guise of friendly aliens. They appear on the roof of the United Nations, and they look human, but require special glasses to protect their eyes and have a weird sort of way of speaking. We come to know them as the visitors, and these visitors tell us a story about their home planet. It turns out that they need our help. They have had problems, and they need chemicals and minerals to save their world that they could only get on Earth. If we help them out, they agree to give us their technology, and the governments of the world agree to help the visitors. What happens next is the leaders of the visitors, John and his famous deputy, Diana, start to gain a lot of control with the human authorities. Then all these strange things start happening. Scientists on Earth become objects of increasing media hostility. People who criticize the visitors start to disappear or are largely discredited. Then the real hero of V, Michael Donovan, who is a journalist, covertly boards the mothership and discovers that beneath the human-like facade are carnivorous reptilians who like to eat live food. The visitors then seize control of the media. They form a youth group, very similar to the sort of Hitler Youth, and start using mind control. Donovan is a fugitive from the law. Of course, this leads to a resistance movement on Earth. Their symbol is a painted red V for victory, which is spray painted over posters that promoted the visitors as friends, as I mentioned in the marketing campaign. Interestingly, the show ends with the resistance striking against the visitors, and some of the visitors actually helping the resistance, and in an interesting case, impregnating one of them. And when all that finally plays out, the miniseries ends with the visitors now controlling all of Earth. At that point, the resistance sends a transmission into space, asking for help from anyone who could help us. So a sort of bleak ending. The show had a great cast. You had the Beastmaster himself, Mark Singer, playing Mike Donovan. You had Faye Grant playing Juliet Parrish. Diana was played by a great soap actress, Jane Badler, who was an amazing antagonist in the show. Her, air quote, boss, John, was played by Richard Hurd, who's a character actor who's appeared in dozens of TV shows, probably most famously to recent bands as Mr. Wilhelm on the TV show Seinfeld. One of the great collaborator visitors was Willie, and Willie was played by Robert Freddy Krueger Englund. An interesting story about the casting. Dominique Dunne, who you might remember as Dana Freeling